Des Hasler has parted ways with the Gold Coast Titans. Was he hard done by?
Nah, they're sitting stone motherless last on the competition ladder. They're in a worse state than the position that he inherited, and the roster's pretty good.
Josh Hannay, what's his biggest task first off?
It's convincing Tino Fasuamalawi that this is the club that you need to be at, and you can lead us towards a premiership.
Adam O'Brien parting ways with the Newcastle Knights. Is this a mutual breakup?
I think on the rare occasion it is.
There's no rest for the wicked this week unless you're the Penrith Panthers, when everybody gets a rest.
I think the NRL will have to have a look at maybe putting a cap on how many players you can rest.
The Panthers are backing themselves because if things don't go their way, they could be heading to Suncorp Stadium week 1 of the finals in a do-or-die clash with Brisbane. Des Hasler has parted ways with the Gold Coast Titans. Actually, he'll coach out the final 2 games of the year. Was he hard done by?
Nah, they're sitting stone motherless last on the competition ladder. They're in a worse state than the position that he inherited, and the roster's pretty good. So, no, I think it was the right decision. I think Des's time in the NRL is done and dusted.
So Des Hasler paid the price, but who accepts responsibility outside of that? The players, the board? I mean, there's a lot of question marks.
Yeah, they do, Mobsy, but as we know in this game, the coach always cops it, really. And the fact that the Titans are privately owned by the Frizzels is, if they're tipping the money in, mate, they're going to make the calls. And I understand that. The players have definitely a responsibility, but it's the club that pays them the significant salaries that I think have been exorbitant. I.e. Dave Fafita and AJ Brimson. They're just 2 examples.
I actually going to defend him a little bit because I don't think it was the wrong. It turned out to be the wrong call, but at the time I thought Des was a decent appointment for the Titans. Right, like they'd gone through, a rookie coach. Des was probably the most credentialed coach on the open market. Gave him a crack, and it hasn't worked out. The smart thing that they did was put those clauses in his contract. Right, so because we all know how litigious Des has been in the past with Manly and Canterbury, but the fact they safeguarded themselves, gave him 2 years and a potential for a third if he aimed up to some performance-based clauses, then he would have kept his job. So I'm going to defend him on this one. I thought it was a good appointment. It hasn't worked out, and they've moved on swiftly.
Hasler's replacement, Josh Hannay. What's his biggest task first off?
Oh, there's no doubt about it, Mobsy. It's convincing Tino Fasuamalawi that this is the club that you need to be at, and you can lead us towards a premiership. That's the vision that Josh Hannay has to sell to Big Tino, because it's been widely reported. We know the Perth Bears, through the relationship of Mal Meninga and the former head of recruitment of the Gold Coast Titans, who is now the head of recruitment of the Perth Bears, Ezra Howe, has a relationship with Tino, and they're going to have a crack at trying to get him. In the background, nothing has certainly been confirmed from the Melbourne Storm's point of view, but we're hearing rumours and suggestions that they would want to have a look at trying to get Tino back. And that would be huge. And from Tino's perspective, it's very difficult to not sit down with the Melbourne Storm. At least sit down with them. So that's Hannay's number 1. Absolutely. He has to get finality around the David Fafita situation. My understanding is that the Titans and Hannay have spoken about it. And I understand Dave Fafita is actually now open to the fact that a change would be good for me. And maybe under Wayne Bennett at South Sydney would be a good move. The Titans would need to wear a significant portion on the cap, though, to get rid of Dave Fafita.
It's a really interesting one, because if you sat here 2 years ago, what was Des Hasler's biggest question marks heading into his coaching tenure at the Titans? One would have been, can you unlock David Fafita? And 2, what's your best 167 look like?
Yeah.
Fast forward, we've got the same questions now for Josh Hannay. I'm with you, Dave. I think Fafita's got to go and freshen up and have an opportunity elsewhere to see if he can rejuvenate himself. And then what does he do with his spine, right? Jaden Campbell, AJ Brimson, Keanu Kinney, all really good players. Really good players. First graders, no doubt.
But same position.
So why keep them? Why keep them?
Yeah.
Why go through this charade again when you're going to try and manufacture? Like, for mine, the Titans are afraid of one of those players going elsewhere and starring. It will probably happen. And it's not their fault that they produced 3 really good fullbacks at the one time. But cut your losses. Try and find a marquee half. AJ Brimson's got a lot. Whichever one. I'm not sure who they want to get rid of, right? Because I think they're all really good players.
Yeah.
But use that leverage to try and get a half out from somewhere.
Yep.
Because that will create a better balanced roster and in the end, a better balanced side.
Yep.
There's no point having these 3 fullbacks all on good money in your club, right? Like, and this is not a knock on the players because they're very good players. They're all first graders.
It's a
the
bad
Dragons
it's a
would
conundrum.
bend over backwards to try and get one of them.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so for mine, that's would be what I would do. And, Justin Holbrook couldn't get that jigsaw to work late in his coaching tenure. Des Hasler definitely couldn't get it to work. Don't face the same problems. Try something different.
I think we will see an element of remembering the period that Josh Hannay was the interim coach of the Sharks. He actually came up with a really good attacking strategy around Matt Moylan and Nico Hines and Will Kennedy at the time. 3 fullbacks, effectively. 3 fullbacks. Moylan, Hines, Kennedy were fullbacks at some period through their career. And I think he'll adopt a very similar strategy at the Titans where they are all fullbacks, as you say, Mick. I think AJ Brimson's a legitimate chance to go to the halves.
So you're going to have Campbell and Brimson in the halves with Keanu Kinney at fullback?
Yeah, potentially.
Yeah.
Yep. I think it's a legit...
The concern for me, the concern for me there is that we get to round 6, round 7, round 8, they're 2 and 6. What do?
Yeah.
They change their halves again. They swap them all around. So I'm just not sure that 1, 6, 7, having those 3 players works for mine. It doesn't work for mine.
How ordinary is the Jamal Fogarty release? Look.
Because he's the perfect fit.
Like he would have
he'd
solved so many issues for that club.
Who decided that was the right move?
Well, I would believe it's the former head of recruitment, Ezra Howe.
Well, so you'd have Fogarty at 7, Campbell at 6, and either Kinney or Brimson at 1. And then you're using that money to sign a strike centre.
Mm-hmm.
How good's your back line looking?
Yeah.
You know?
Should be ahead of footy.
I'm available if anyone wants me.
Yeah. Surprise this week with Adam O'Brien parting ways with the Newcastle Knights as well. Michael Carianis, is this a mutual breakup? Did we have those in rugby league?
I think on the rare occasion it is. I think Adam perhaps saw the writing on the wall, maybe not so much with the board, but with the playing group. And that he probably couldn't get the best out of this group. The lemon had run dry, so to speak, and he was emotionally burnt out as well. So, he approached the club and had that conversation because he had 2 years left on his contract, and they've come to a settlement. I feel like it is the rare time where you've got a club happy with the outcome and a coach content with the outcome with the parting of the ways.
Yeah, it was time, wasn't it? It was time, really, when you think about they've got the worst for and against in the comp, right? And they're second last. And for me, I think what you're saying, Mick, is right, where probably over the last 3 weeks, the air's come out of the balloon. The previous 4 weeks, there was stacks of fight still in the Knights. Defensively, they were in games. I remember one game against the Melbourne Storm, they were right in it at half time at Newcastle, and they were with several other matches prior to that. But over the last 3 weeks, largely due to the roster, stacks of injuries, but the fight's gone, and I think that's a telltale sign that it was time for Adam to move on.
I'm a little bit surprised, only in the way that having had lots of conversations with Adam over the last 2 or so months, he was optimistic about next season because that roster.
But so were the Knights. When you spoke to the Knights, Mick, that was always their intention for him to go around next year.
So, I felt like. But he's obviously of the understanding as well that if he doesn't start fast next year, he was going to get speared by round 6 or 7 or 8. You know, like his head was massively on the chopping block next season. So he's like, well, if I remove myself from that distraction, hopefully the team can perform better. So I get that a little bit as well. But that roster at the moment is easily like that. So the team that they're putting out at the moment, given all the injuries, is the worst in the NRL. How they're not sitting last is more of an indictment on the Titans, I'd say, in their performance so far this year than Newcastle's ability to win a few games. So as Dave said, they've had a fight. They've fought hard. That they should have beaten the Warriors. I wonder if they win that game in Golden Point. Is the energy levels a little bit different? Is the optimism still there? Are they still holding on a little bit better? But I'm a little bit surprised that it's come to this, given to the conversations around what Dave said and the fact that I don't think he was going to get sacked this year. That's my gut. I don't think he was going to get sacked. But once that...
It was all about taking the noise into next year.
That's right, yeah.
The noise was going to be there next year.
Hugely.
Well, there's going to be noise. I got this question for you. Is this a trap for the next coach? Because what happens if this new coach comes in and his thoughts about where Dylan Brown should be playing is different to what the football department currently had him pitch for next year?
You don't get a choice.
You don't get employed as the coach.
Yeah,
You don't get employed.
You inherit it. You inherit the 10 years of Dylan Brown. That's what you've inherited.
Where at halfback?
You take the job.
Well, you've got to have a design. If you're the coach being interviewed for the Newcastle Knights job, a major part of that pitch is how you're using Dylan Brown. You're not going in there saying, I can't use Dylan Brown. You're not getting the job, right? So, and I know it'll be easy to say in 2 years' time, oh, look, I didn't want Dylan anyway, and then they try and move him on because he doesn't fit with the coach. But, we've seen this 1,000 times. How many coaches go into a job saying, no, this roster's, I can fix it. They get in there for a month going, oh, look, this is a rebuild now. And they try and
I mean, I know they're going to... There's no one who's going to say, I can't use Dylan Brown because he's a very good player, but we're talking halfback, right? This is what he was signed for. Or are we back? Are we peeling that back now? Or where are we looking?
They were going to use him as two guys on the ball, right? Like 2 sixers with Callum Ponga as well. They're going to play off the front foot. Like that was their vision, right? With Fletcher Sharp and Dylan Brown and Callum Ponga, right? To play a little bit like the Warriors played with Luke Metcalf and Chanel Harris-Tavita and Charles Nicoll-Klustad at the back. Sort of like, as Dave said earlier, around the Cronulla Sharks method a few years ago where they had 3 fullbacks or, a fullback and a couple of 5'8s that were all in the mix, right? So we've seen that style evolve a little bit with some clubs doing it. We got Munster and Hughes in Melbourne, right? They're not traditional halves. So I think that was the blueprint that they were going to use. And the new coach, whether he wants to use him at 7 or 6 or one side of the field or whatever, they're going to have a plan. They will have to have a plan to utilise Dylan Brown. Otherwise, you're not getting that job.
How tough a job is it? As all the 17 coaching jobs are tough, but when you're head coach of the Knights, you saw during Old Boys Day, 25,000 fans there rocking up after all the losses. You're talking about their for and against being so bad. They've conceded some big score lines. So knowing how passionate the fan base is, that everyone's going to want to stop you on the street and talk about footy, it's a big job, right? You talk about the Broncos jobs, you talk about, the gigs that are going to be really more than just coaching. The Knights is one of those.
Yeah, they are mobsy. But you know what? Coaches are optimistic blokes. They believe that they can go and win a premiership. And at the top of their list would be winning a premiership with that community.
How good?
Honestly, if you are the coach to do that, well, you're set for life. And that's how coaches think. I can go in and achieve this. It's the same reason Hannay's gone to the Titans. That's the challenge he wants. He wants to be that coach that can turn this club around. The Knights are in a very similar boat, and I think it's a challenge that a lot of coaches run towards as knowing the roster's pretty decent. I will say this: I reckon they get an absolute free hit next year. I don't think they're hung, drawn, and quartered if the Knights don't
play finals.
Play finals. I think they get a free hit.
A free hit, but Mick, you were just saying that their roster looks really good.
Well, it's better. No, it's better. It's better because
it's the best spine they've had. I said this on 360 on Wednesday night. Best spine since Mitchell Pearce left the club.
Hands down. Right, so
that was in 22.
Their back line is potent next year. There's still a lot of questions around their forward pack. They're hopeful to get Trey Mooney in there, but there's lots of questions around their forward pack. But their 1 to 7 is explosive, right? But the question marks will be is, can the forwards do enough to get them on the front foot, because they're going to be front foot players.
And top 5 candidates?
Yeah, so the process is going to be a little bit different to Josh Hannay at the Titans, where the Titans knew who they wanted, went and got him, got the job done, got the deal done. The Knights, there's no clear-cut candidate, right? So what they'll do, they'll draw up a short list. The hope is they'll have about 5 candidates present to Peter Parr and Chris James who will lead that process. And the names, obviously, we've heard Justin Holbrook and Blake Green, early front runners, right? The other names in the mix are Matt King, another assistant coach at the Roosters. You've got John Morris, a former Newcastle Knights player, local junior that's come through the grades there. He's currently at the West Tigers as Benji Marshall's assistant, had success at the Sharks as a head coach. Dean Young, I think Dean Young's a bit of a smoky there. Is the Dragons assistant coach, went close to getting the Parramatta job last year as well. So they're the ones. Brian McDermott will probably get an interview if he wants, but I don't think he'll end up as the head coach of the Newcastle Knights next year. So they're the 5 for mine at the moment.
There's no rest for the wicked this week unless you're the Penrith Panthers, when everybody gets a rest.
I wouldn't mind working for the Panthers. Ivan Cleary sounds like a much better boss than you, Mobsy.
Yeah, that's true.
Hey, you get off season.
So do they. Hello.
Maybe 2 weeks in January.
Would have been
from
nice.
Mobsy.
You got to rest some of your biggest stars sometimes, Mobsy.
Well,
that's why Reedy's not here.
Had to send him down to Melbourne during bye week in AFL. So, but it's bye week up here. And what are your thoughts on the Panthers resting so many players? It's in the rules, so they can.
Yeah.
And I heard you giving it to Brandy on SEN.
He's ruined rugby league this weekend, Brandy, single-handedly.
Yeah.
Outstanding. Outstanding.
I get it. I don't have an issue. Obviously I don't like it, right? But I don't like it from a spectacle point of view, going to the game on Thursday night, looking forward to it, watching a full-strength Panthers play the Bulldogs, right? But I don't hold any ill will to the Panthers for doing it. They're entitled to do it. Their number one focus is not this weekend. Their number one focus is the premiership, right? And if they feel like this is the best case for them to win the comp, good luck to them.
I got an email from a guy bringing his son down from Coffs Harbour or Core Stadium. They've had it in the diary, in the calendar for so long. Second last round blockbuster. He's now coming to watch New South Wales Cup versus the Bulldogs.
I know.
And I think that hurts. It really does.
It does. It does. It'll hurt probably the viewership tonight, the crowd attendance. Of course it does, right? Is it in the spirit of rugby league? No, but that's not Panthers.
I firmly believe the NRL will look at this as far as parameters going forward. I don't think it's for everything a great look for fans, TV ratings, but also too, there's nothing to stop this becoming a consistent play by head coaches, and I think it impacts the product, and I think it
the integrity of the game. You're saying,
I do think it impacts the integrity.
Yeah. Look, I agree with all that.
I get the play. I get Ivan's decision, the strategy. I love it. It's fine.
Yeah.
But I think the NRL will have to have a look at maybe putting a cap on how many players you can rest.
I think Dave's point is let's take the Panthers out of it, right? Like, they've done it, but let's just talk around the issue, right? And what's the fix? Like, the Panthers are well entitled to do it. Good luck to them. I don't have an issue with them doing it, because it's in the rules. But what's the fix, Dave? Is the fix like having a percentage of your cap that's available playing? That's the only, because the NRL can't pick teams.
No.
Right.
You might have, but then you'll have teams doing the old AFL. I've got muscle awareness.
Yeah.
I've got scarf soreness.
Get a doctor's certificate. So I can't, you're
not going to stop that. And I know the NBA has rules around player participation policy, because they had an issue with superstars, guys like Kawhi Leonard and such, who were being load managed, is what they were called, and it was annoying people, and especially when they play 82 games a year, so it's a big imposition on them. But national televised games which carry a fair bit of cachet to them, so there's the look in for that. But my issue is, what I find really interesting is the Panthers are backing themselves, because if things don't go their way, they could be heading to Suncorp Stadium week 1 of the finals in a do or die clash with Brisbane. But that's a little concerning. But it's also, if I'm another team and going, geez, these guys are just backing themselves comes final time, I'd be a little worried about that as well as a home clash. I'm looking forward to that week 1 now to see where they end up, because they've basically given up the idea of a home final, haven't they? A home do or die final, essentially.
Well, what they've given up, we actually don't know. We won't know until it's all locked in. They're just making this play about freshening their players up for and mind you, they've come through a really tough stretch of winning a string of matches, staying high and up to get those results, on top of some major opposition. And now it's about freshening them up for another run. They have to go undefeated now.
Yeah.
Where they sit, what they've given up, we won't ever know until it's done, and then we can review it and go, well, that was the masterstroke, or it was.
I don't think it's going to ever be a bad move.
A backlash.
I don't think it'll ever be a bad move. But it could be a masterstroke.
Yeah. I like your point about, they had to make a big run from last place to get into the 8 to start with, and they were in the 4 temporarily. So now they've got a break to come back through. Would it have been different had Penrith Stadium been available? Because, you could have possibly got a home game at CommBank, which isn't quite your home. And best case scenario now is you'll play Cronulla at CommBank or Cronulla at, I'm just not saying it's great, but or at Shark Park at 13,000 is, worst case, you're going up to Brisbane, do or die clash.
There was when this was all breaking, there was a crazy rumour doing the round. Might not be crazy. Doing the round that the Panthers sat down, the Brains Trust sat down, went through all the Pythagoras' theorem of the top 8 and all the machinations and manoeuvred it to miss a New Zealand away trip in the finals. Thinking about the impact of that travel, fatigue, preparation, etc., and the tough road trip that is playing the Warriors over there. No one was able to stand it up at the time, but that was a suggestion to your point about how deep did they go in looking at forecasting the results to work out where they might and who they might play.
Yeah. And then how big now are the 2 golden point losses? 4 points is 4 points. They're on 35 now. They're in 4th spot and they're
probably playing everyone to get that top 4.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good luck to them.
Well, we won't know. We'll know in a couple of weeks' time.
Good luck to them. Imagine they win.
Yeah, it'll be huge. It'll be huge if they win.
They can't win, surely.
They can't win?
Think?
They can't win?
Nah.
He's very nervously said it.
You guys? Well, I've said some things this year. I don't want this clip being replayed, but
all right.
Well, off you go.
So for the man
by 30.
So the man who brought you.
Oh, sorry, they can't win
the premiership
on Thursday night or the premiership.
I'm not talking Hello, no, it's tonight, Thursday night.
Can they win the premiership?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Oh, well, yeah, okay.
Why are you nervously saying they can't win?
Well, because you guys were all like, yeah, they can win the comp.
Yeah, right. From outside the 4.
Yeah.
Do you think that we were trying to quiz you to trick you into saying that they can't, that St Mary's can't beat Canterbury in round 26?
Yeah. Can they win tonight?
No.
No.
Oh, good.